I know you guys are going to have some questions on, last weekend, which I'll be happy to answer that. But just moving forward to this week, and just as far as what's ahead of us, the one thing that I mentioned this past week, and I mentioned it in the press conference, but what an opening Saturday, just across the country, just wonderful game after wonderful game. And we had a pretty good one in Morgantown with a good quality opponent, a great atmosphere. I want to give a shout out to our fan base for being there and being loud, looking good. Just a wonderful Saturday for college football here in Morgantown, West Virginia. And was obviously pleased with the way things turned out. You can say, well, it got a little dicey there at the end, which we weren't happy with, but thought our team started really well, but we just got to do a better job of finishing out both halves. So we've got a lot to work on. Excited about this weekend's game. Should be about the same situation here. Hope everybody had a great time last week and is excited and anxious to be able to show up and cheer on the Mountaineers to try to get to 2-0. Youngstown State's a good football team now. I mean, everybody understands just being this part of the country, of the country, what Youngstown's done. It's a winning tradition. They've won 4 national championships. They've had lots and lots of good players and lots of wins. Their players walk by national championship trophies and conference championship trophies every single day. They got really good players. They're extremely sound. Bo Pelini's widely regarded as one of the best defensive coaches in the country. He had an unbelievable winning percentage as a head coach at Nebraska. I got all the respect in the world for him, looking at what his resume is, competing against him in the past. I know those guys are going to be well coached. You look back at the last 4 FBS teams that they've played back in 2012, they beat Pitt. 2013 they played Michigan State really well. 2014 they came real close to beating Illinois, and then last year they should have beat Pitt again. If that doesn't grab your attention right there, then I don't know what will. Last week alone, there's 3 FCS teams that beat FBS teams, one of which was in our conference. So our players are going to understand this, and I'm not expecting any kind of a poor performance because of the difference in the division. We're going to respect our opponent, prepare our tail off this week, and get out there and hope to get a week better and move on to where we can get to 2-0. Offensively, it's going to be night and day from what y'all saw last week. Where Missouri would spread it and do it really, really, really fast. Youngstown, that's not what Youngstown does. They're going to be in a lot of tight ends and fullbacks and huddle a lot and slow the thing down. They got good players. They're big up front. They're experienced up front. They got a dynamic running back. This Webb kid, number 20, is fast and has made a ton of plays. I know he got hurt last week, but we're anticipating that he's going to be a go. Their quarterback is a different guy than they played last year. This Davis kid, number 12, is really a good player. He's been in the program for a couple of years now and is a big kid that does a lot of good things. So we got our work cut out for us. It's a different type of offense than what our defense has seen over the last 6 weeks now. So I know they're going to be up for the test to get out there and play defensively, which is what Coach Pelini's his expertise is, if you will. I tell you, just as sound as it gets. They got 7, 8 returning starters. They got good players across the board. They got 2, 3 safeties that have been there for several years. A couple of them are big-time transfer guys that have look the part, play the part, always in position, make a ton of plays. Got 2 defensive ends that look great. One's an All-American. This number 11, this Rivers kid, is a nuisance. That dude is always in the backfield. Reminds me of what we had to face last week. So they got a guy that can get there. Got a Nebraska transfer that looks great. The Moss kid looks the part and gets back in the backfield as well. So they're very sound. They don't give up a ton of big plays. it'd be another challenge for us. It'd be a challenge for us to be able to block their ends. It'd be a challenge for us to be able to get open and throw and catch and run the ball as well. Special teams wise, you know, it's Coach, one of the Stoops brothers is their special teams coordinator. I mean, if you look at Youngstown tradition, it seems like it's Stoops and Pelini's are the ones that are all around there. But they're sound in what they do, and you know, the one thing that I look forward to from a special teams perspective is not really how the specialists perform. I was very pleased with how the specialists performed and had a really good idea that they were going to be able to perform that way. It's all the blocks and tackles that happen in space. And we ended up playing about 55 guys last week. You know, we'll probably end up playing a couple of more this week to develop some competition at some of those special team spots. And so special teams is where that happens. So we need to get a little bit better at some of the blocking and some of the tackling in space, and get a good opportunity to be able to do that. So that's my introduction. Turn it over to some questions.
Yeah, you talked about the specialists, but even though you were confident, they had to play most of them in that type of environment. Billy, can he address how they perform when the lights were on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any negatives whatsoever. I mean, there is a couple of communication issues that we got to get sorted out, you know, just because of, Coach Scott and the other guys, some of the communication needs to exist. The only negative I saw with any of those guys was the first one should have been a pooch, where Billy knocked it into the end zone. That should have been more of a pooch kick. Other than that, which he knocked the heck out of it, right? So we're all happy about that. But other than that, thought he punted well. I thought our protection was good. Mike Molina on kickoffs was a little inconsistent, but he knocked the majority of them into the end zone. When he didn't knock them into the end zone, he only kicked it to about the 10. That's quite a bit of a difference. So we got to get a little bit more consistent with him. Field goals wise, 4 for 4. We didn't put him in any long field goal situations, which I thought was good, but him knocking it through was good. So just, couldn't have been happier with the way all those guys performed. Our kickoff return guys were good. Shelton popped too and was close to getting them both out. And then Gary did a good job with fielding the punts. We got to block a little bit better and give him a little bit of help. Right now he's got no help. So overall, I was pretty happy with him.
Missouri laid back a little bit, kind of let their front four break the pressure. Do you expect a lot more looks from Youngstown State in terms of what they bring in blitz?
No. I mean, they don't blitz a whole lot. They tried to, and Missouri could do it because those guys up front were so damn good. I mean, those D tackles, 4 D tackles, they rotated in. They were all anywhere from 305 to 365. So those guys were a bit of a load. And the 91 was disruptive. In Youngstown, I feel like, their two ends are pretty active. So, if they're going to empty the box and keep their safeties deep, which is what they did against Duquesne, then we're going to run the ball about 99% of the time. So if they start getting those guys involved, they will bring a blitz off this edge or a blitz off this edge, or they'll bring safeties down this way. So we got to identify what they're doing, and we got to be able to attack it the appropriate way.
Dana, have you always felt that you guys were as focused as they needed to be for the FCS teams? The only close game was William and Mary, but that was also the one team that wasn't as competitive as the others anyway. So, do you feel like...
I disagree with that. Those guys are pretty good. They won like 9 games the previous year. They're extremely well coached. But I feel like we've handled it pretty good. If you just look back at, for the exception of getting booed my second game here against Norfolk State at halftime, deservingly so. I think we were down 10-7. Came out in the second half and took care of business. Other than that, we've been motivated to play. We played a good JMU team over there that was really well coached and played well, and we did okay. And you mentioned William and Mary. Liberty last year was a pretty good football team. That quarterback was the real deal. And they moved the ball a good bit. They're scholarship players that their depth is what usually it's not the front line guys, it's not the starters. Their starters aren't gonna be a whole lot different than our starters at a lot of the spots. Where FCS gets, where they get in trouble is when, the second teamers go in there or over the course of the game. We gotta be really, really, really on guard with that because our opportunities aren't gonna be great. They're not gonna come in here and do what Missouri did and try to run 100 plays and have 15, 16 possessions. It's what William and Mary did, it's what JMU did, it's what Liberty did. They're gonna limit how many snaps we can get by what they do offensively. They're only defending about 55 snaps a game at Youngstown, so we better take advantage of our opportunities, so that's why that JMU score was relatively close, and that's why that William and Mary score was relatively close as well.
With Adam Pankey coming back off his suspension, do you guys have a plan yet of exactly what you're going to do with him and Mateo and the inside of the line?
Tony played great, he'll start at left guard. Bosch played great, he'll start at right guard. Colton, I thought, came in and competed his tail off, so we'll rotate those guys. It's good to have Hank back. He's pretty motivated and ready to play right now, so he'll do what he's done in the past. I mean, he's a guard, he can flip out the left tackle if we need him to, so it gives us more depth to be able to do that. Don't know what I'm gonna do exactly. I mean, I would anticipate all of them playing about the same time.
With the injuries you've had since the summer, is depth now an issue?
No, we're still good with it right now. I mean, it's the mentality's got to be. We've had some unfortunate injuries, which if you just sit there and focus on it and worry about it, then those injuries are probably going to continue to happen. You can't do that. You got to get out there and you got to play ball. Everybody's dealing with it. You watch that game last night. There's a couple of kids that got carted off the field in the first quarter. It's just part of it that you got to deal with. And there's a couple of suspensions that happened as well. And what I like about this team is the next guy up mentality has been great. We lost a couple of guys with suspensions, and Matteo stepped in and played his tail off. And Mike Molina went in and had an outstanding game. And Jeremy Tyler went in for Draymond and played his best game he's had since he's been here. Justin Hart went in which probably would have started anyway. Without Xavier out there, he goes out there and is the defensive player of the game. So I couldn't be happier with the way those guys have approached that. And we've done a good job of building our roster to the point where we have a lot of capable bodies to be able to go out and play at a high level. That's how you win. That needs to continue.
I'm sure you looked at the short yardage. What was the problem? Was it just not executing, or was something wrong with what you were trying to do?
In what situation?
The goal line.
The red
Red zone,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, the famous red zone question.
Yeah,
We averaged, what was it, 3 point, I think I've got this. We averaged 3.7 yards a trip. They averaged 1.3. We won by 2.28. That's why we won the game. Now, with that said, that's not going to be good enough moving forward. Our goal is 50% touchdowns in the red zone. We were 20%. Okay, now we scored just outside the red zone. The Shells thing was like 22 yards or something. So that was close. But studying it, I studied it hard, and I don't regret any of the calls that we made. We got to execute better. There was 2 times that I was slow getting the call in. That kind of affected the execution of the play. I got to get the call in a little bit quicker, especially when we sub personnel and we huddle up and we get the play called. Our sense of urgency needs to be a little bit higher right there. And then we got to complete balls. We attempted 4 balls and didn't complete any of them. Everybody's like, you got to grind it out, you got to run the ball. Well, we did that a good bit. And if you get positive yards, that's a positive play. When the field shrinks like this, the defense comes together and it's hard to run the ball. That's why you got to get the quarterback involved with it a little bit, because it creates extra gaps and you gain extra blockers. So, you know, but with that said, there's gonna be times where you have to throw the ball, and that space is very tight. So, we just didn't do a very good job of that, and that needs to improve. The good news from the head coach perspective is we did a hell of a lot better than they did, which is the main reason why we won.
Dana, how's Skylar's range of motion with the rib? And,
It's fine, he's not limited at all, it's painful. You know, it was a non-contact thing. It's just painful. There's no cracked ribs or broken ribs, or it's just a little bit of a shift, which means it hurts to breathe, and it hurts to sneeze, and it hurts to throw, and it hurts to run, and it hurts to, you know, walk to class and all that good stuff. It's over time, it's gonna go away. It doesn't limit anything. So, kudos for him, you know, coming out there and playing through it. You know, he knew the team needed him. Backup quarterbacks didn't do a great job, and that's on me. I gotta get those guys more ready to play. He's the one with all the experience and knew his team needed him, so he came out and played and gave us a chance to win.
because of that, might you hope that you can run the ball more in this upcoming game?
But yeah, well, I mean, we hope we can do that every game. I mean, that's our mentality. We ran the ball better than our opponent did this past game, which is one of our goals, obviously. But yeah, I mean, that you know, if that's what they're giving us, then that's what we need to do. If that's not what they're giving us, then we need to be able to sit back there, protect, and throw and catch. Which I thought we did a better job of this past game than we have in a couple of years back.
Coach, last week, run the ball 48 times, throw the ball 37 times. Is that the kind of balance that you're looking to kind of carry out throughout the season, or?
Again, depending on what the defense does. You know, I mean, if you look at, you know, Arizona State, we threw the ball more than we ran the ball because of how crowded, how much they blitzed. So it's all defense. It's all defensive. You know, we want to dictate tempo and all that stuff, but there's going to be times where defense is going to make the decision on what you're going to do offensively. You know, so being able to do both is important. That's what I mean about balance, is not exactly what calls are being made or what the play distribution is or what the yardage distribution is. It's defensive oriented. What they dictate you doing is what you got to be able to do to be successful. So if that means throw it 90% of the time, then we need to be able to do that. If that means run it 90% of the time, then that's what we'll do.
Curious about your thoughts on Adam Schuler. He had 6 tackles. He forced a fumble there. What was your evaluation?
Great. Was really happy with him. You know, I thought Christian Brown played the best up front. Probably the best he's played since he's been here. One guy that we had our eye on that we didn't quite know what was going to happen, I mean, was Schuler, you know, defensively. I mean, there's 30 guys that dressed out for the first time. And so we were anxious to see how all those kids' demeanors was. And some of them was better than the others. Schuler's was great. You know, he got out there and played fast and played physical and played with energy, and you know, it looked good. So play more, do it again. So I didn't watch him. David Long was another guy defensively that was a new guy that got out there and played with a lot of energy and was all over the field. You know, going to continue to get better for him.
Danny, given that the number of guys that did well, it sounds like in their first game, that first game is gone. Right or wrong, there's that FCS bias. It's just hard to shake too. How do you make sure that, for lack of a better phrase, game 2 is like game 1 for them? They still have that excitement and energy.
Better figure out a way to do that every week. I don't care who you play. Like I said, we'll keep talking about all these FCS upsets. We'll address that every week, you know, as far as who we play. It doesn't matter who you play. You better respect your opponent, prepare the right way, and get out there and play your tail off. You know, and some guys are probably going to have better games than others, and you've got to identify who those guys are and get them out there and play with them. So I think our guys are going to be. I think we had fun. you saw us flying around, playing with energy and playing with effort. I think our guys had fun being out there. I know our guys were ready to play, and I know they were happy with the win, so let's go do it again. Who cares who we play?
Coach Barrier talking about bringing that physical element at wide receiver. Did you like what you saw there with blocking?
It was hit and miss. You know, I thought Cron did a great job blocking. Thought DeKeel did a great job blocking. Other guys probably need to do a little bit better.
You mentioned, I think last week about getting the routine passes. Were you happy with that last week?
Very, very much so. You know, all those, anytime DeKeel has that kind of a game, the intermediate stuff is good. So, you know, they were playing their safeties back. We took a couple of shots just because we got impatient. You know, a couple of them resulted in a couple of pass interferences, which was beneficial for us. 2 of them were interceptions, you know, so there was some good and some bad. You know, we don't need to force that when that's not there. Just keep attacking the intermediate stuff. I mean, you know, we had some screens that were able to, you know, get some completions and put it in play. We had some pitch routes and some stick routes that were good, but more importantly, it was that 12 to 15 yard area, you know, that DeKeel did a great job of. We need to get the outside guys a little bit more involved in that area as well.
Danny, your backup quarterbacks obviously made mistakes. If you need them, you still have confidence that they can make plays?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, you know, it's the first time Chugs has been out there. You know, that was a deal for him. And you know, Williams has got experience. I mean, he can't make that kind of mistake at that time of the game. So, you know, I think what they learned is they got to both be ready. You know, it hadn't happened very much where we've had to just like shove them out there, and that's the type of a game. You know, most of Williams' stuff was all cleanup stuff. You know, and Chugs has never had to go out there. So, I think what they learned is you know, it really is true. You're a play away. So they need to be more ready. They need to be on the sidelines, engaged, ready to go with their helmet on. And if I say get in, they need to get in there and know exactly what I want. So I think they learned, and I think they'll get better because of that.
What about Jordan's first game inside?
It was okay. You know, he had a chance to get about 3 passes that Skylar just missed. You know, so you know he's the type of guy where if we get him one of those balls, then he's probably gonna and then go, and that's gonna give him some confidence. And you know, we need to keep focusing on that, make it a little bit of a priority to get him the ball. And you know, he probably needs to go in for DeKeel a little bit more. DeKeel, I think, played about 70 snaps, and Javon played about 30. You know, it's roughly that. So we need to kind of even that out just a little bit, which will give him more opportunities to make plays. I got a ton of confidence in Javon. You know, those other guys made some plays, but he's going to, I can assure you.
Dan, with Skylar not limited but sore, it's going to be there. The backups, they're still, you know, still kind of green. Does that change any of the run stuff you do with Skylar, or backing off of that, does that just change your offense too much?
I think it depends on how he's feeling. You know, I didn't run him up in between the tackles in the second half like I did in the first half. So that it limits us a little bit, but I think that's, you know, you only do that when you really have to with quarterbacks. You know, I mean, I like to do that with them early to get them going. That second play of the game looked great. And I don't know if anybody noticed Justin Crawford's effort and the block that he threw, but that's the type of player that Justin is. But you know, doing that with Skylar gets him going. You know, and he's been very successful and effective in the run game. We're going to make sure that continues to happen, but we're always going to try to protect that position as well. It's the balance that you got to kind of figure out.
You played 4 true freshmen. You said possibly more last week. Are you intent on playing others, or is now a if necessary situation?
I'll be honest, I don't know how many we played. Played 4. That number will go up. That number will go up. You know, you got a couple of receivers that will continue to get better and get ready. You got a couple of linebacker safeties guys that will continue to get ready and get better. So if that number was 9, and I had it written down last week, I lost that number, and we played 4, I would anticipate that number to
Zills as one of your backups now.
He's gonna be up with us playing small. He was our fifth tackle and a scout team guy last week. He's our fourth tackle, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
All righty, appreciate it.